As we join the rest of the world in observation of World Water Day, we encourage you to value our water sources. This can easily take the form of practicing the 4 R's of water conservation. That is, reducing water consumption, replacing water wastage devices with water-smart ones, reusing water where possible, and repairing leaks promptly. Water is life. Let's conserve. Welcome to Jamaica Magazine. I'm Adrian Atkinson.
Practice good hygiene by washing your hands frequently using soap and water. Here's how you should do it while conserving water. Turn on the tap to wet your hands, then turn off the pipe. Lather your hands and the tap with soap. Turn on the tap and wash your hands, back, front, and in between fingers. Use some of the water to wash off the tap, then turn it off. Dry your hands with disposable hand towels. If you don't have running water, use a hand rub containing 62% or more alcohol. If hand sanitizers are not available, rubbing alcohol, Dettol, white rum, or household bleach will do the trick. And if all else fails, let hand washing and the handling of potable water be a 2-person event. Each person will take turns pouring and washing hands with sitting water. Now is a good time to consider installing a tap on your containers to reduce the risk of water contamination. Faucets can be easily attached to drums, buckets, or 5-gallon water bottles. And to ensure that the outside of the containers are clean when recapping, disinfect it with hand rub containing alcohol that's 62% or more. The 5 R's of water conservation are also necessary to practice. Reduce water wastage by investing in water-saving devices. Reuse water at least twice before discarding. Replace leaking pipes, faucets, and other plumbing equipment. Recycle wastewater and use it for gardening, car washing, or cleaning of public spaces. And reclaim water through rainwater harvesting. We all must play our part to ensure there's water to combat the coronavirus and stave off prolonged drought.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Monday, March 22. A raft of measures have been introduced or extended as the island seeks to contain the spread of the COVID-19 virus. Prime Minister Andrew Holness on Sunday revealed that the tighter measures and increased enforcement are due to the ballooning numbers of confirmed COVID-19 cases and deaths on the island. The depletion of bed capacity on COVID-19 wards at hospitals across the island were also factored into the decision.
It is clear that the level of compliance is not going to be achieved by virtue of moral suasion or appealing to the public. It is now clear that the public is at the point where it is no longer of concern to them.
From March 23 to 26, the nightly curfew will remain at 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. the following day. On Friday, March 26, all business places except essential services such as supermarkets, pharmacies, and restaurants will close at noon. The weekend curfew begins at noon on Saturday, March 27, and will continue all day Sunday, March 28, ending at 5 a.m. on Monday, March 29. From March 29 to March 31, the curfew hours revert to 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. daily. On Holy Thursday, April 1, all places of business except for essential service providers will close at midday. The 8 p.m. nightly curfew starting on April 1 will continue all day on April 2, ending at 5 a.m. on April 3. The weekend curfew will resume at noon on April 3, continue the entire day on April 4 and 5, ending at 5 a.m. on Tuesday, April 6. The usual 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. the next day restriction and movement will remain unchanged between April 6 and April 10. All workplaces are ordered closed at midday on Friday, April 9 to accommodate the gathering of essential items for the noon start of the weekend curfew on April 10. That weekend curfew will cover all day April 11 and will be lifted at 5 a.m. on Monday, April 12.
On no movement days, persons will be allowed to seek urgent medical care, and those who have overseas travel plans can make their way to or from the airport. Essential services will still be operational, but I remind those persons employed to essential services who must move on the no movement days to ensure that you have your ID to present to the police. And just to be clear as well, though you are permitted to move on the no movement days, it is movement in pursuit of your job. So it is not a wholesale movement license or exemption.
In the meantime, Prime Minister Holness updated several COVID-19 containment measures. In-person school for all primary and secondary students, including those sitting exit exams, has been suspended until April 13. The ban on burials has been lifted for March 24 to April 13. Burials will only be allowed Mondays to Fridays between the hours of 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. with a maximum of 15 persons in attendance, 10 of which are mourners. The gathering limit at weddings has been reduced from 25 to 15 persons until April 13. Church services will be allowed with a maximum of 12 persons to facilitate electronic broadcast. Applications are to be made to the nearest police station for permission, which would include the names of the 12 personnel who will be facilitating the service. Prime Minister Holness has extended the work-from-home orders in the public sector until April 13 and encourages businesses in the private sector to follow suit. The stay-at-home order in place for persons 60 years and older remains in place. So too has the travel ban on direct flights from the United Kingdom. The negative COVID-19 test requirement for travelers to Jamaica remains in effect until June 30. All other measures under the Disaster Risk Management Act will continue unchanged. This includes the 10-person gathering limit, the wearing of a mask in public, opening hours for markets, as well as the rule governing public transportation. The ban on parties, indoor cinemas, amusements and gaming arcades, rivers and beaches not under organized management remain unchanged.
Persons with appointments to receive a vaccine will be allowed to do so during curfew hours. Persons will be required to present evidence of the appointment. And how it will work is you will show the text message that you would have received or your email to the police.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness has announced the launch of an e-commerce national delivery system, or ENDS initiative. ENDS will facilitate businesses in the quick services industry, including restaurants and delivery services, to operate up to midnight during curfew hours. Mr. Holness says limited testing has begun, with plans to start the piloting of ENDS on March 26 in Portmore, St. Catherine.
The system will be fully inclusive and will enable the smallest business operator, the vendor, the jerk chicken man, your favorite fish vendor, to participate.
Businesses must be registered under ENDS to participate in deliveries during curfew hours. The ENDS is an initiative of a cabinet subcommittee and the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica. Prime Minister Andrew Holness is warning that there will be prosecutions if corruption or negligence led to the recent disappearance of a vial of COVID-19 vaccine from the Cornwall Regional Hospital. While addressing a recent virtual vaccine town hall meeting, Mr. Holness said a full investigation has been launched to determine whether there was any negligence or theft involved.
We as a government, we are intent on breaking that cycle of the improper distribution of scarce public goods. So we take it very seriously, and I've had word with the Minister of Health, and we're going to go with the fullest force to find out what happened to that vaccine and if there is any negligence, malfeasance, or deliberate theft and corruption involved in it.
The vial of AstraZeneca vaccine was discovered missing last Tuesday after standard checks were carried out during the vaccination process. The Western Regional Health Authority is currently carrying out an investigation which involves reviewing the CCTV footage and procedures at the hospital. The Jamaica Constabulary Force JCF is reporting a 53% clear-up rate for homicides in 2020. The figure is a marked improvement to the 39% recorded in 2019. Prime Minister Andrew Holness made the disclosure during his contribution to the budget debate. Cyber forensic and DNA evidence, he says, played a major role in the clearing up of the cases.
Increases in our cyber forensic processing output and the routine retrieval of DNA from crime scenes and recovered weapons have directly led to more convictions. This approach to investigations has resulted in a better clear-up rate.
The Prime Minister said improved investigative outcomes was largely accomplished through emphasis on the use of scientific approaches in solving crimes. And finally, some 41 Justices of the Peace, JPs, from St. James have been commissioned into service under the recently amended Justice of the Peace Act. Under the Act, these JPs are the first in St. James to be given a seal indicating that they can serve across all parishes in the country. While speaking last week at the virtual commissioning ceremony, St. James Custis Bishop Conrad Pitkin said approximately 1,000 JPs in the parish with the old seal will have to wait to have them changed out. The Justice of the Peace Act was recently amended to appoint and commission individuals as Justices of the Peace of Jamaica, rather than the parish in which they reside. JPs are still expected to report to the custodies in the parish that they are currently residing. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
It's absolutely critical that we receive the vaccines. You will see hospitalizations and indeed deaths likely come down. And so there is a lot of value to be gained by getting as many vulnerables on board as possible. So tell your mothers, tell your aunts, listen out for yourselves if you're over 60, and take the vax, because the vax is what will help you to guard against the COVID virus and indeed help your relatives, your friends, those who you come in contact with for the same benefit.
$9.5 billion has been set aside to deliver services and projects within the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries for the financial year 2021-2022. Get a breakdown on how the money will be spent.
The vision of the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries is to achieve an innovative, inclusive, sustainable and internationally competitive agriculture and fisheries sector by 2030. That work will be advanced in the 2021-2022 fiscal year with a budget of over $8.3 billion. Through the help of bilateral partners, an additional $1.2 billion has been allotted to fund development projects. Here's the breakdown. As the ministry targets a dynamic agriculture sector, upgrades to the Bordeaux Research Station in St. Catherine will be continuing. Several tasks to be undertaken this fiscal year includes the completion of a milking system, the Phase 2 upgrade of domestic water supply, rehabilitation of irrigation systems, and the renovation of medium and high-tech greenhouses. A new piggery and animal performance testing facility will be constructed, along with the installation of a herd management system and biodigester. Farmers in St. Elizabeth and Manchester will benefit from the continuation of work on the Essex Valley Irrigation Infrastructure Development Program. $605 million is being spent by the Caribbean Development Bank and the Government of Jamaica to continue the drilling of wells and complete the design of the irrigation network system. Irrigation equipment will also be procured. A tariff study of the National Irrigation Commission, along with capacity building for climate resilience and crop modeling and the design of an agricultural building will also be completed. The Caribbean Development Bank is funding the 3-year Southern Plains Agricultural Development Project. This year, $300 million will be used to complete 3 wells in Parnassus, Clarendon, install irrigation networks, commence road and drain rehabilitation or construction, and rehabilitate irrigation canals. Government is also partnering with the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development to enhance resilience to climate change among targeted fishing and aquaculture communities. Work will be carried out on the fisheries and aquaculture policy, while the hatchery and mariculture facility will be upgraded. A climate resilience farm will also be established. The government of Jamaica is spending $128 million to enhance the Agricultural Competitiveness Program Bridging Project. At the Spring Garden Agro Park, renovation will continue on a packaging facility, while on-farm access roads and drains will be completed. Pumping works will continue at the Spring Plain Agro Park. The main aim of the ministry this fiscal year surrounds the Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries program. It aims at promoting the development and implementation of a strategic framework for agricultural health and food safety in Jamaica.
Our farmers and fisher folks are the backbone of our country. It is they, our food heroes, who toil daily to put food on our table and ensure that our economy continues to move forward.
Strengthening partnerships, improving infrastructure and creating opportunities. These underpin the projects that have been budgeted for the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries.
To properly carry out a hand rub, apply a palmful of the product in your cupped hand, covering all surfaces. Rub your hands palm to palm. Rub your right palm over the back of your left hand with interlaced fingers and vice versa. Rub your hands palm to palm with fingers interlaced. Rub the back of your fingers to opposing palms with fingers interlocked. Rotationally rub backwards and forwards the clasped fingers of your right hand in your left palm and vice versa. Once your hands are dry, they are now safe.
Are you or someone you know interested in farming? If the answer is yes, then this next feature is for you.
Farming is a way of life, especially here in Jamaica. Today, an increasing number of young people are getting involved.
Back then, persons used to look down on agriculture based on the stigma that agriculture is for a particular group of persons. But I am proud to say that that stigma has been reduced significantly. So no longer is agriculture a last option. It's a primary option where persons are now interested in pursuing even studies at the master's level in agriculture.
Getting started in agriculture can be tricky, so there are a number of things new farmers need to be aware of.
For young persons who would like to get involved in agriculture, the first thing I would say to them, they have to first assess their interest. Agriculture is a very wide industry with different sectors. And so they first need to look at, do I have an interest in crop production or animal production?
Crop production is the process of growing produce for domestic and commercial purposes, whereas animal production is the technology applied to keeping animals for profit. You know, feeding, rearing, and breeding. That's just the basics. So for the next few minutes, we'll learn more about getting started in crop production.
We at RADA and the field staff particularly, when we are engaged about young persons getting into farming, when they approach us, one of the main things we want to emphasize is about training. A lot of persons who want to venture into agriculture, and they see it as something that they can get into without getting that technical knowledge, because it's easy to go and get the land, prepare and sow the seeds and all of that. But there's a lot of other issues you have to consider. You have to consider the pest and the disease control. As you say, you have to look at the weather condition, you have to look at the type of crop, different crops require different environmental conditions. Two major things we also emphasize to new entrant farmers is we look at the markets. Don't just jump into production without thinking about your market. I know it's sort of tempting for a lot of persons when prices are high and it look very nice, and you can get a lot of income, but that's not always the case. Because by the time you put in that crop, the price is usually, and the crop come in, the price is usually low. So we look at the market. And another thing, we look at the cost of production. A lot of new entrant farmers, they want to get into production without looking at what it costs to produce a crop. That is very important, because that is how you can determine if you are able to make a profit based on how you estimate your costs and your market price and all of that. So we emphasize the cost of production. So those are some of the things we emphasize to new entrant farmers.
So there are different options such as agro-processing that young persons can venture. So you don't have to be looking at agriculture as going in the sun, sweating. You can still do that practice. That's the traditional practice. But there are some contemporary practices that involves technology, such as hydroponics and aquaponics. And so young persons can look at that option as well. So don't picture a farmer as this person in dirty clothes, this person riding a donkey. Some of the farmers know they are driving the biggest vehicle you can think of, and they live in the best household that you can think of. Another thing that you need to do is to partner with RADA, in particularly the agri-linkages, to help you seek possible markets before you venture into the field of agriculture. And what you can also do is to do a SWOT analysis. When I say a SWOT analysis, once you identify your interest, you're going to be now looking at your strengths, assess the strengths, you're going to assess the weaknesses and how you can overcome them. You're going to look at the opportunities that exist, and you're now going to be looking at the threats. So one of your threats could be your, I wouldn't say competitor, because in agriculture, I don't want to give the impression that we are competing. We're all in this thing together. But there are some threats such as disaster. How can you bounce back, or how can you mitigate certain effects? So a SWOT analysis is very important when you're looking at agriculture as a young person.
With all that information in mind, get started with your research. Start farming, as you can help to make Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business by growing what we eat so we can eat what we grow.
I want to get rid of that stigma that is attached to agriculture. And I want persons to understand that if we don't have farmers, we won't have any people. So where there's no food, the people will perish. So look at agriculture as a business and not as a traditional, disregarded occupation. It's a very lucrative, very vibrant occupation that you should all think of.
If between January 1, 2020 and December 31, 2020, you were a public official in receipt of total emoluments of $3,500,000 Jamaican dollars or above, or you were appointed or performed the functions of a position listed in the Jamaica Gazette, December 1, 2020, regarding the Integrity Commission Act, you are required to file a statutory declaration of assets, liabilities and income as at December 31, 2020. What to file? You are required to declare all balances and interests in all assets, liabilities, and income received by you, your spouse, and children living in your household. Why file? The Integrity Commission has implemented its zero-tolerance policy. Declarants are required to submit all outstanding statutory declarations. Failure to submit a statutory declaration may attract a fine of not exceeding 500,000 Jamaican dollars or to a term of imprisonment not exceeding 6 months. A person who knowingly makes a false statement in the statutory declaration may be liable to a fine not exceeding 2 million Jamaican dollars or to a term of imprisonment not exceeding 2 years. The Integrity Commission has decentralized the collection of statutory declarations. Submit your statutory declaration for the period January 1, 2020 to December 31, 2020 securely within your organization on or before March 31. Here's how. First, complete your statutory declaration. Ensure you have entered the correct as-at date, which would be December 31, 2020. NA or C attached is never an appropriate response. Use none and list all required balances. Copy or print additional pages where necessary. Ensure all the sections are signed. A justice of the peace is required to validate your signature by signing, entering the date, location, and affixing their embossed seal. Attach the relevant supporting documents. ATM printouts are not accepted. Place the required information on the statutory declaration envelope, seal the envelope, and affix your security seal. Deposit the secure envelope in the Integrity Commission branded collection box or with your designated officer on or before March 31, 2021. Finally, enter your name and date of submission on the Integrity Commission log sheet. The designated officer will facilitate the submission of all statutory declarations to the Integrity Commission by Friday, April 9, 2021. The Integrity Commission will register your statutory declaration and send you a receipt by email on or before Friday, April 30, 2021. For more information, visit our website at integrity.gov.jm or give us a call at 876-968-6227.
The numbers keep climbing, and yet some of you are still complaining about curfew times. Is that being selfish or are you being smart? You continue to blame the government, stating they are not doing enough. But the big question is, are you doing your part to help decrease the spread? The unfortunate reality is that far too many people refuse to take the coronavirus pandemic seriously until they or someone they love gets infected. Now, this is what we do not want, and I don't believe I can stress this enough. Wear your mask, sanitize. Of course, we love to hug and socialize, but just ease off some of that right now. Not just for your safety, but also for others. It look hard for your relatives to be home doing all they need to in order not to catch the virus, and you out on the road being reckless and carrying it right home to them. Each one of us needs to help during this fight against COVID-19 as we work to make Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business in a healthy environment.
And that's all the time we have left on this station. Be sure to join us again tomorrow, round about the same time for our next half-hour program. We are available online 24/7, 365. There's our website, YouTube channel, and pages on all the social media platforms. On behalf of the entire team here at the JIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.